Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Greetings and salutations, and a big warm welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Today, I want to tackle the subject of cybersecurity. For example, how expensive it has become to recruit security professionals, how organisations are beginning to explore retiring those legacy VPNs, and how many organisations are trying to consolidate their apps and services, and seeing how a zero trust environment could work in their workplace, not to mention monitoring and analytics to measure security improvements. And also exploring Citrix workspace security ecosystem. These are just a few of the topics we're going to be exploring in depth today. There's a lot of great information in here, but enough from me. Let's get today's guests onto the podcast right now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Andre, can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yes, of course. So I lead product marketing for Secure Workspace Access and Identity at Citrix. Secure Workspace Access is our product that covers zero trust or secure access to organization, the corporate resources inside organizations. And identity, of course, is everything that covers authentication, and other technologies that will secure access to resources either inside the organization or outside the organization.
And Anil, you should be no stranger to the listeners as you are a regular on the podcast. But for anyone that's joining us for the first time, could you just offer a few details about the kind of work that you're doing too?
Definitely. Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having us again here. I'm Anil Kumar, Technical Marketing Manager at Citrix, currently focused on building a security ecosystem through our Citrix Ready program and partners. Day in and out, I help and work with a lot of technology vendors out there to help them integrate and validate their solutions with Citrix and work with them to build joint solutions and messaging, which will help our customers to solve key challenges around security they are facing. Close to completing 6 years at Citrix, and prior to that, I worked with Fujitsu, Hewlett-Packard, and Capgemini, mostly focused on building, securing, and supporting Citrix solutions.
And it's a pleasure to have you both on the podcast today. And the reason I wanted you both to come on the podcast at the same time was to tackle some of the big problems that everyone's talking about at the moment. And by that, I mean every business is now challenged with empowering its employees with the ability to work from anywhere and on any device. And also we have the rise of hybrid working to deal with as well. And for most leaders and security teams listening, there is a realization that they're going to need more than a legacy VPN to protect their organization. And I'm curious, from the conversations that you've had with all of your customers, what are the big questions that they're coming to Citrix and asking for your help with?
I think first we need to baseline the conversation, right? So to understand what the problem is today. It starts with what you mentioned, right? So workers are now mobile. They are working from home, from the office. They are constantly moving. Well, maybe not right so much now with the pandemic, but we all know that we are able to work from anywhere, and we want to work from anywhere. At the same time, we have all these applications that we use on a daily basis. They might be cloud-based applications, sort of like SaaS applications that live in the cloud, your Workday, your Salesforce.com. But we also still have to use and access all those legacy applications, or sometimes not even legacy, those applications that are inside the data center. No, our organizations have been building and developing applications for the past 20, 30 years. And many of those organizations, especially the large ones, they still have a long tail of business applications that are inside the walls of the data center, need to be protected, and they still need to be accessed by the employees and partners in general. With that, we also have another challenge, which are the devices. So we are not only working remotely and have this mobility, we have all these applications now that are all outside the data center, inside the data center. There's data sprawl that is happening everywhere. Our data is everywhere. But also the devices, we want the flexibility to use any device, right? So I'm a Mac user, you might be a Windows user, some other people use iOS and so on. So because of that, we have this dichotomy between what is a corporate device and what is a personal device, and how do we manage all these devices across our number of our employees in the organization. And of course, when you put all that together, it's very easily understandable that the number of threats and the attack footprint has increased drastically. So we're not only talking about the threats to the organization, but the threats to the devices, the threats to the user, the threats to the data. So these are some of the conversations that we are having with customers today, and how we can help them to not only protect and embrace protection, but also how to simplify, how to unify their journey around that. Because many organizations today are dealing with 30, 40, 50 different security applications. And that of course creates a toll on the IT management team and security teams. There's no way you can manage 30, 40 different applications to manage security or to prevent users from doing wrong things, and for malwares from entering the devices and so on, and still make sense of all this data. And this is what our conversation is all about. It's not necessarily only about secure workspace access, but it's about the entire journey. And we call this the secure access journey, or the secure access story. And it's a holistic way of looking at a bigger problem, right?
It really is. And Anil, for saying security teams are spinning so many plates right now, are there any trends in the kind of conversations that you're hearing?
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Andrej mentioned. I mean, with the current pandemic situation, and when it all started, a lot of these enterprises and organizations had to turn their entire, or probably 95 to mostly 100% of their workforce into remote workforce, which I don't think any company was prepared for at that time. And obviously, it's still a struggle for some of these companies to first of all enable that remote working, and also ensuring that these corporate sensitive applications are provided to these employees in a very secure manner. That's one big challenge for them. And with all the vaccination happening around the world, it could be a very it may not be very far that some of these companies would ask at least half of their workforce to start coming back to work, and they still have to manage this new hybrid workforce model. That's another struggle or challenge which the C-level executives are currently having. And obviously the BYO story, where obviously the companies have enabled everybody to start using their own set of devices to access both sanctioned and unsanctioned applications, and you have to ensure that I mean, this obviously increases the attack surface for cyber criminals, and you have to ensure, although enabling BYO for business continuity is there, it shouldn't really be the main attack surface for the attackers. And last but not the least, the security architecture, the on-premise VPN and everything which are present on premises, that they are not scalable immediately, right? I mean, to increase the compute and to increase the number of VPN users, it cannot happen overnight, and they are obviously not scalable. So these are actually some of the challenges which we've been hearing from the customers and from the field.
And I think one of the other challenges that I'm seeing more and more is just how expensive it is to become or to recruit security professionals now. And I recently read on a Citrix blog post that it can cost as much as 6 times to hire a security talent from outside rather than build those skills from within. So there's clearly room for improvement there. And Andrej, can you tell me more about how security reskilling and automation can mend that cybersecurity skills gap that we're seeing?
Yeah, I think I wrote the blog post. But no, it is true, right? So there is definitely a lack of well-prepared professionals available on the market. Of course, there are many good professionals, seasoned professionals that with security backgrounds. And of course, they are hired by the big players in the market. So how do regular organizations will hire people that really have the know-how and understanding how to manage security and implement security? So it becomes really a very expensive exercise for organizations in general. So organizations need to start thinking about how can I simplify my security footprint and how I manage security overall? How can I have this holistic approach that I discussed a little bit? But also, how can I bring my users into the journey, maybe my IT users, my IT staff into the journey and help them to become a little bit more IT security savvy? That's not to say that's going to happen. You can't really convert a person that is not an IT expert into an IT expert in a week or in a month, right? But you can help them get there slowly. But that won't be possible without simplifying processes and methods and unifying vendors and so on. I think my point on the blog post was that based on numbers that the industry have in terms of hiring and recruiting IT security experts, it's perhaps easier, instead of hiring your 10 security experts, to hire maybe 4 or 5 and then bring the rest of your IT staff on this journey. Because it's not only about securing the edge devices and applications, it's also about how you develop security into your applications, how you protect your databases. There's a lot of things over a number of different systems to think about.
Completely agree with you there. And I had no idea that blog post was written by you. Talk about small world. And I will put a link to it on the show notes just for anyone listening so they can check out that post too. But for any businesses on a journey to retire those legacy VPNs that we've been talking about, can you tell me more about why they need to think more about zero trust and where they should begin if they embark on that journey? And Andre, I'll throw that one to you.
Yeah, that's a good question. So zero trust, or ZTNA, zero trust network access, is a term that has been coined by analysts, and it seems to have caught on. Like, there's a lot of organizations talking about it. I think Gartner has been talking about it, and Forrester has been talking about it. And every time I talk to a CISO or CIO, they know what it is, right? So you know that there is momentum behind it. And the whole concept is that we should not implicitly trust users, applications, and devices, right? So, and that's what we've done until now, because we knew that once the user was connected to the organization, or if the user was inside the walls of my office, they are connected and it's a safe environment. And we know this is not the case, especially in this hybrid working model that we have nowadays. So the whole idea of zero trust is that we need to continuously verify authentication and the conditional access of the user constantly. So it's not only that the user was allowed to access a corporate resource inside the network, but it's where they are coming from, what device they're using, what is the IP address, is the OS patched, is the OS encrypted? But not only do that, but do that on a constant basis, right? So as an example, if you have a user accessing an application, I always use this easy example. A user is accessing an application, Salesforce, from United States, and now they are accessing from Canada, but they're not supposed to do that. How do you actually mitigate that? So based on that, a number of different solutions start to pop up on the market. And we at Citrix have a very interesting solution. This is called a VPN-less solution. So basically, instead of allowing users to connect to the internal corporate resources through a VPN, which is a virtual private network, is the same technology that we've been using for the past 20, 30 years, which is a HTTPS or TLS connection to inside the data center, where pretty much you opening the gate of your corporate resources, right? Users get in and they get access to your network, and generally speaking, they have access to everything that it's out there. So it's very easy to have sort of like a lateral movement if it's a hacker who is accessing and so on. But then changing the way we're doing that, instead of allowing the users come inside the data center, we have a cloud service that controls what the user is requesting, and we actually send that resource to the user. So in this case, if they're trying to access an internal web application, we actually sending that application to the user over a TLS connection, where now we have a application layer connectivity instead of a connectivity straight into the networking backbone of the organization. There's some of the things that we are doing, in terms of identity and contextual access and VPN-less connectivity. And more we see organizations trying to embrace that, not only because of the security aspect, but also, as Anil mentioned, with the pandemic, there was a lot of customers that were using VPN and they're trying to expand very quickly and they don't have the capacity. But with this sort of solution, because it's always an outbound connectivity, there's no problem with expansion. And because it's cloud managed as a SaaS service, it's very easy to scale the solution globally. There's some of the things that we are doing in terms of that. And of course, there's a lot of other security mechanisms on top of that, like because we are providing the connectivity between the application and the user, and we provide this service through the Citrix cloud, we have the ability also to implement some features like control what the user can do with the application, sort of like download and upload and sort of add a watermark. So there are a number of security features and policies that we can start adding on top of what the users are doing with those applications and data to help secure the organization. There was a lot of content, but that's what zero trust is not implicitly accepting that the user is a good user just because the authentication is successful, but constantly doing that. And furthermore, also creating risk scores for the user and sort of like constantly checking all that.
So much valuable information in there, Andre. And Anil, I'd love to bring you into this too. If we zoom out for a moment, can you walk me through the Citrix Ready Workspace security ecosystem, just for anybody listening out there, so they can navigate with a little bit more confidence, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great question. So partnerships are really important for us. I know we do a lot around security, like Andre just elaborated in terms of zero trust and the secure workspace access. But a lot of companies out there use a lot of security solutions which they trust, and having that interoperation and compatibilities and the partnerships are really important, so that enterprises who really invested a lot for a long term, they really do not have to rip and replace anything, but they could slowly embrace the solutions which really make sense to them. And that is one of the reasons why we started building this ecosystem of security partners around Citrix Workspace. It started a couple of years ago, but now we have a rich set of partners and in various categories, which really complement the Citrix's secure workspace journey. Before even I dive into that, I wanted to provide a little bit background about what the Citrix Ready program itself is. It's obviously a technology partner program where software and hardware vendors of all types develop and integrate their products with our technology. And to become a Citrix Ready partner and to earn that Citrix Ready designation, these vendors have to validate their solutions through a thorough and robust verification process, which ensures compatibility with our solutions. Technical specialists like myself and my team are available to assist with the integration and testing process on the way to become Citrix Ready. And partners, once they become Citrix ready, we can help them participate in joint marketing activities to drive and generate demand for their solutions through some of the podcasts and webinars which we do. And these all these partner solutions are also listed in Citrix Ready Marketplace. It's an online resource which our customers heavily use to easily search and find compatible solutions for their Citrix deployments and environments. Now, coming back to the workspace security program itself, like I said, it was designed to help our customers in their digital workspace journey by building this robust partner ecosystem of trusted security solutions. And it now includes a new area of focus on zero trust with key alliance partners like Cisco, Google, Microsoft, Splunk, and many others. So basically, this particular Citrix Ready Workspace Security Program, it provides customers that comprehensive partner ecosystem of trusted, validated, and tested solutions, security solutions for their workspace. And we have categorized all these different vendors in various categories so that customers can really choose which security solution they're required to help their workspace security journey more easy. It includes categories starting with access security, which includes a lot of identity and access management vendors. And with Citrix's recent enhancement of the SAML feature in the Citrix Cloud, customers can bring in any identity provider who supports SAML out there and utilize their multi-factor authentication and passwordless solutions. And we obviously have the traditional vendors like Yubico and TrustKey solutions who integrate with Microsoft Azure AD to provide that complete passwordless secure access with their security keys. And there's a long list of vendors in this space who are also FIDO2 certified, who are really enabling a lot of our customers to embrace that passwordless access story. And then we dive into endpoints like Andre did mention with all these PYO unmanaged devices out there. Endpoint security becomes key, and some of our partners like Zimperium, Symantec, and Bitdefender, FireEye, and many others, they really help secure these endpoints and devices, both managed and unmanaged. And then it drills down to the network and cloud security, data security, and monitoring and analytics. And in particular, with monitoring and analytics, with some of our partners like SolarWinds and Splunk, our products have that ability to push all the data which we've analyzed into some of these leaders in SIM space, so that it really helps IT admins and security analysts to have that holistic view of where the breaches are happening. And so these were some of the examples, partner names I've taken, but there's a whole lot of rich ecosystem partners out there. And like I said, we've also expanded the program to include zero trust solutions right now, which includes partners like Google, Cisco, and Splunk, and Microsoft, and a few others.
And another topic that I wanted to bring up with you both today is the inconvenient truth that so many businesses out there and people listening will be in organizations that have 30 to 50 security partners with long-term relationships with those vendors, but managing these relationships and those solutions can be incredibly time-consuming and become a complete nightmare. I'm curious, are you finding that this prompts many leaders to explore how they can consolidate their apps and their services, and how do you think we can simplify this complex world of security and in business?
Yeah, I think I talked a little bit about that already in terms of, embracing not necessarily a single solution, but try to simplify the process, right? Like I know that the products that we have at Citrix, as an example, we try to consolidate them to be managed through a single, unified, holistic interface. So admins have a consistent experience. A policy that is created for one service is applicable to different services. So that goes all the way from like authentication, connection, protection, analytics, and insights. Sort of like getting all this information together in a single process. And CIOs and CISOs, when we talk to them, they're very keen in embracing a solution that will simplify managing security overall for organizations. They know the big problem they have with those 30, 40, in some cases even 50, as you mentioned, different vendors. Some of them, they will still use it. They are critical. As an example, there are security vendors for databases. There are security vendors for telco. They're all different services. Of course, we can't provide a solution for everything, but whenever it's possible to unify and simplify operations with good products, right? It's not just any product, with good products that will solve real problems for organizations. I think there is a very big appetite for that, based on what we've been talking to CISOs in general.
Absolutely. And on that subject of consolidating apps and services and simplifying complexities in security in businesses, is there anything you'd like to comment on there, Anil?
Andre did point out some of these challenges of having a lot of security point products in a data center and the complexity of managing them, and how Citrix is working towards having that security stack and also unified so that it becomes easy for the IT admins to manage the entire security stack in their environment and also get that holistic view and all the analytics and everything in one single place. It really reduces that complexity. But like I did mention earlier, we know how a lot of these companies have implemented security over the years. That there's a lot of point products which they've implemented and which they may not be able to get rid of them immediately, or they continue to trust in some of these vendors, and probably it's working out well for them. Our approach is not always rip and replace everything. We understand that our customers have definitely made these investments with a lot of thought in terms of infrastructure like identity platforms, SIM and SOC products, and also web proxies, and looking to integrate with third-party products in each of these verticals, and also to allow for a seamless deployment into Citrix workspaces. Just to take a few examples, that I know I did mention this earlier, but we integrate with some of these key products like Microsoft Azure AD, Active Directory, and Okta user directories to provide that contextual policies, single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, and many others. And in terms of the analytics, I already mentioned Splunk, but we also have integrations with Microsoft Security Graph, Microsoft Sentinel, and many more. And we constantly look for partners who want to integrate with Citrix Workspace to help their customers. And we also have integrations in the web proxy and policy engine space, and also integrations with our SD-WAN solutions. So it's always so we do understand companies have a lot of these point products, and they may want to consolidate into consolidate these kind of complex security infrastructure into something like Citrix's security stack. But for companies who want to still continue with their journey, or who are not immediately replacing those, we have all these integrations which we've worked with these partners so that they can ensure that the products are still interoperable and can work together to meet that security goal of their choice.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. No, as much we say that, CISOs and CIOs are looking to consolidate, which they are, they do have products that have been working well for a long time inside the organizations. As Anil was saying, Okta is a big part of ours, which we have many customers that like to use them as the IDP, the identity provider, and they want to integrate with Citrix services, with security, with Citrix Workspace, which is where we unify all the applications and give that seamless consolidated view for all the users. So that happens all the time. And that's a critical piece of work that Anil and his team have been doing, which is the validation of all these third-party solutions to integrate into our solution and create this ecosystem. Yeah, absolutely.
And it does seem that at Citrix, you've got the incredibly nice problem of having many security companies wanting to partner and wanting to work with you. But I'm curious, how do you select partners to work with at Citrix and then ensure that you get that interoperation and compatibility with vendors?
Yeah, great question. So we really do not have something like a selection process. Yep. To onboard these partners, but obviously there's a process afterwards in terms of thorough validation, testing to ensure compatibility and interoperability of our products together. So there's really no proper selection criteria there, but so it's kind of open to everybody, but our main importance goes to customers, right? A lot of these vendors, when they want to when they approach us to become Citrix ready or validate their or want to integrate or validate their products with Citrix, it's mainly because of a customer ask, which they are working with. And it could be the other way around also, right? Because a lot of our field teams come back to us telling there's an XYZ vendor which the customer already has. Do we have any partnership with them? Does our products integrate well with them? So that Citrix ready, having a Citrix ready designation obviously helps a lot of the security vendors out there to kind of gain confidence from the customer. It could be a new sell, or it could be something like they want to continue that upgrade that customer to a new level or anything. And like I said, it could be the other way around. It could also be something which a customer is really looking from Citrix for let's say they have a huge security vendor which they've already implemented and is trusting from many years. And before they know if it works on Citrix, they are really looking. They're looking for information in terms of what's been tested. Has these companies been working together? What's the resources available out there in terms of use cases, joint solution briefs, etc. So these are some of the things which we help enable the sales teams and the customers to educate them about the partnership and the use cases which we have with these partners.
And I guess the big question keeping every business leader awake at night is how can they better secure working from anywhere and on any device? So what advice would you give to listeners? And can you expand on how that you're actually working on simplifying that solution with your security ecosystem?
The first thing you got to do is educate. Help your team, your team members understand that they are part of the solution. Right. This goes beyond any security product or any procedures that you can have inside your organization. Once you do that, which is hard, actually, it's easy to say, but it's educate on security is not as simple. Then you have other things that you can do in terms of securing the device. Now you can decide if those devices will be managed by the organization, or if you're going to allow BYO bring your own device. They use their own devices, and then the options start to go from there, right? So if it's a corporate device, how you're going to protect. If you are allowing BYO. How that you cannot protect, how you're actually going to protect user data and the applications themselves. And this is where some of the solutions that we have in our portfolio help organizations and IT leaders to support the organizations in terms of security, right? So we have solutions to support BYO devices. We have solutions to support managed devices. And it goes this way, right? There's not a single answer for everything, but I think it starts with education and then looking at products that are simple enough to use and deploy at scale. And generally speaking, nowadays, when we talk about deploy at scale, we are talking about cloud services, right? It's much easier to scale globally, available in every geo. We have different sets of technologies that you cannot have on premise anymore. And this is what not only the analysts are talking about, Gartner and Forrester, but it's what CIOs and CISOs are looking at as well. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but it's a multi-pronged approach.
No, that's perfect. And Neil, is there anything you can expand on that?
Yeah, I think great answer by Andre. I think education becomes the key, right? Starting from the employees, the end users, and all the way up to everybody in the organization, educating them about the security incidents happening around the world. I think I was reading one of the report which Verizon produces every year, and the percentage of cyber attacks in terms of ransomware and identity thefts which have happened so far in the year is probably the highest ever recorded in terms with most of us working remotely with on our own devices, managed or unmanaged. So yeah, I mean, ensuring employees know what to click on and what to ignore, what to report, and I mean that would just be a start. But then improving their security infrastructure by removing a lot of point products which really do not help security, but probably open up gaps, get rid of them, have a consolidated approach, and obviously Andre provided the overview about what Citrix products can do in terms of security. But if you have other products which you don't want to get rid of, but are looking for integrations or interoperations with Citrix's workspace, we have this rich ecosystem of integrations available to our workspace security program. You could definitely have a look at that.
Hey, Neil, interesting point here. The 2020 Data Security Predictions Report by Gartner says that 99% of the threats to data security in organizations are already known to the enterprise and its workforce. So basically, the same threats and the same things that have been attacking enterprises over and over again. So it's clearly that there's a lack of understanding of what users in general or how they should behave, because it's already known, right? They know how organizations know how they are going to be attacked. And that's the most interesting part. It's like, if we know how we are going to be attacked, why are we not protecting ourselves? Or why are we not preventing? Why are we not educating? I think that's a very, very interesting point. 99% of the threats are already known to the organizations, according to Gartner.
And as an ex-IT guy and service improvement manager, I'm all too aware that you can only improve what you can measure. So from that side of things, can you tell me more about your approach to monitoring and analytics and how you enable users to actually search, collect and analyze data from multiple data sources? Because that's incredibly important and cool too. And Andre, I'll throw that to you first.
Yeah, no, that's a very important point. And it's something that it drastically improves when you have products that have been designed to work together, because they all can fit into the same analytics platform and can start correlate all this data, right? So as part of our security portfolio, we have Citrix Analytics for Security, and it can be fed from different sources, from different systems, not only from like as an example, secure workspace access, but from secure internet access, from CVAD, which is our virtual desktop application for on-premise and the cloud as well. And with all this data, we can start building a profile and score for the users and for the applications and for the data to start understanding if the behavior that is presenting itself is a normal behavior or is an abnormal behavior. And that definitely, and then of course, create sort of like actionable insights out of that to like, maybe block a user, block an application, prevent a user from accessing from certain geo, all that in an automated fashion. So those are the things that we do today. But and it comes with the whole conversation about the consolidation of all the security products whenever possible, and it brings all that together, and it provides a much more powerful way to analyze all this data and make sure we are acting on it when necessary.
Excellent. And Anil, anything you'd like to add on the monitoring and analytics front?
Yeah, I think we analyze a lot of security incidents through our analytics for security product, but we also have the ability to ingest data from other platforms like Microsoft Security Graph and Sentinel, and also the ability to push the analytics which we've done through our product to some of the SIEM and SOC products like Splunk out there. So for customers, it really becomes easy, right? For a customer who's been traditionally using Splunk or Microsoft for a really long time to as a platform for analyzing security, the ability to be able to push analytics from Citrix Workspace as well provides that holistic approach for them, so that they can. It really makes sense for them to get security incidents from all the places possible and be able to digest it in one place and take decisions as per.
And finally, is there anything else that either of you can share that particularly excites you about the future of the Citrix security ecosystem that you're building together?
No, I mean, like I said, it's a rich ecosystem of partnerships and solutions focused on security, mainly focused on interoperation with Citrix's Workspace, and which complements Citrix Workspace. We know a lot of customers out there are still looking out for these integrations and are still valuable to them. So we continue to explore and onboard and invite a lot of security vendors out there to come validate and be a part of this rich ecosystem we are building. We also have a lot of benefits which they can leverage once we onboard them, like joint collaterals, webinars, videos, and everything else to spread the message out. And we have a very strong marketing team who can help push these solutions and market these solutions to the social media and many out there. So if you're looking for information around how to join this program, you could drop an email to citrixready@citrix.com. We also have a dedicated landing page for workspace security vendors or the ecosystem which we built. You could do a quick Google search with keywords like workspace security program and also include Citrix Ready, and you should be able to reach that. But we are happy to provide any information you require at that email address, and we'd be sure to provide that link in the description of this podcast.
Well, a huge thank you to both of you for joining me on the podcast today. I feel we've covered a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time, and there's so much gold in there and valuable information, especially because we're talking about problems that every business is or challenges that businesses are going through at the moment and how we can overcome them together. So thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thanks for hosting us.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks so much.
Wow. What a great conversation. I genuinely hope that you enjoyed exploring the Citrix security ecosystem as much as I did today. But I'd love to hear more about how Citrix might be able to help you turn your security challenges into opportunities. But a big part of this show is not about me or even the guests, but about you listening and sharing your insights, your experiences, questions, concerns, and everything in between. So please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can connect with me on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Just look for @NeilC.Hughes. Nice and easy to find. Remember, you are what makes this podcast special and why there is at least one episode going out 365 days of the year. So please keep your questions coming in. And also remember, if you need help launching your own podcast, you just want somebody else to worry about editing audio files and all that stuff, or need help ghostwriting articles for your business, you can learn more about how you can work with me at techblogwriter.co.uk. But more than anything, I just want to hear your insights, your struggles, how you're overcoming them. And if you want to come on the podcast, let me know too. But that's it for today's episode. So a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.